much.
I have basically been observing the Windows 8 phenomenon and the way the
Oh, I
users.
use Windows 8, by the way. I do.
Uh-huh. Are you willing to retract your statement of the end user's gonna like it?
I'm used to it.
You're used to it, but be honest. How do you think the majority of the end user is gonna react to that OS?
That people, they never did the back screen like I said, but hey, businesses are going to Windows 7, not Windows 8. Like my mom's law firm is a prime example of that. They're going straight to Windows 7 and not Windows 8, and
Yeah.
it'll probably the next operating system that Windows figures out how to get people to go to it in a more friendly manner. And
Well, the reality is they just need to back off of this one UI that fits all approach. It doesn't work.
well, I think it's such a huge jump. My mother, I showed it to her because she moved to Windows 7 and she's like, oh, XP this, she was used to XP. I said, I like Windows 7. I said, I don't think you'll have a problem too much with Windows 7. But I said, you will have a problem with Windows 8. I was laughing, chuckling. And I just showed her screenshots. And I said, do you see the start button or anything? She just dropped her jaw. She goes, I will be retired by the time my law forces this upon me.
And that right there is the thing. Like, I'll give you a quote from an average user regarding Windows 8. Windows 8, you're drunk.
I honestly think that the tiles are extremely powerful used right.
I don't. Okay, I get where Microsoft's head's at. I agree there's power there. The problem is.
Too radical, I know.
Well, it's not that it's too radical. It's that it's too radical with no fallback and no point of reference.
Keeping in line with their true legacy crap. Yeah, like how they would let you, okay, if you don't like it, yeah, they don't have that so much that option. But so many Windows users that I know, just from, I'm not talking about power, I don't want to say power users, probably not the people that are following this on YouTube, but in the hospitals, in the law firms.
Well, no, and I see that the people. I see two groups of people when it comes to Windows 8, and it depends on what Windows 8 device they bought. I see the people who bought a new shiny laptop that came with Windows 8 that doesn't have a touch screen, and the UI is cumbersome to them, and they can't do certain things, and they're just annoyed, and they think it's drunk, and they don't want anything to do with it because it gets in their way. And it's people doing more work-related stuff. Then I see the Windows 8 user who buys one of these cheap slates or Windows phones, who's using it as an augment device that happens to be capable of doing more because it is actually Windows underneath there. And I see those people being very happy with Windows 8, the ones who are primarily using their computing device for consuming and interacting and augmenting with a little bit of work on the side. I see them loving Windows 8. That really is who Windows 8 was designed for. It's really more part of the Xbox Live, Microsoft Live ecosystem than it is the workplace. And that's where I think Microsoft has really screwed up. And I agree with you. They might realize that come Windows 9. And in Windows 9, whatever it's called, Pro and Business, just like with all versions of Windows since XP, there will be features you really, really need that should be in the basic version, but are intended more for Pro users. So they're in that version. So the ability to have better control over the UI and better integration for a workflow and so on and so forth will be Pro and Ultimate version features. But in that version of Windows, not this one. And for now, I mean, honestly, if I'm a business, I hear like you're saying, they're going straight to Windows 7. They don't want anything to do with Windows 8 because they know Windows 8 is going to cost them a shitload of money, not just in buying it, but in the lost productivity that goes with retraining people to deal with a completely new UI and change the way they do everything.
And let me tell you, companies are still dragging their feet on XP. It's only because Microsoft is giving up support that even my mom's law firm is moving to XP.
The reality is they don't want to deal with 7, but they have to. They're kind of forced.
And that's something that I always try to convey on YouTube, what people don't get, is that most businesses don't upgrade as frequently as people would like them or think. they're not a simple user like many of you watching that can afford to format a drive. And then start over.
But it's not just that. It's as the result of being a business, they have done upteen bajillion tweaks and put a spaghetti array of different things together, which in some cases weren't intended to work together. They've invested thousands, tens of thousands of man hours and dollars and everything else into making this stuff work together, and then you throw something new in that breaks half of it, and they're like, we don't want to do all of that again. We don't want to dedicate all that man hours again. It works now, damn it, leave it alone.
Yeah. Businesses don't like to mess stuff up that's working for them.
Yeah, and I mean, the reality is, I'll tell you what winds up happening 9 times out of 10 when those upgrades are forced, and I see it every day in small businesses, somebody loses their job. It gets to the point where the way the company is producing or doing thing A or B or some steps in the process of something that allow it to be done cost effectively now have to be completely redone from scratch, buying all new equipment, everything else, and they price it, and it puts their price at a price the market won't bear, and they effectively make the decision at that moment, sell the back stock, when it's done, close it down. And then those people's jobs are gone, which is unfortunate.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm all for new when new makes sense, but upgrade for the sake of upgrading, it has an outward ripple effect that's very destructive. Sorry, it's my pet peeve, because I have basically a decade of experience of seeing the people who've lost their jobs as a result of it. And I got to know a lot of them working on my contracts. It's just annoying. And there was no reason for them to lose their job. Because it wasn't like it was a security issue or a critical vulnerability or something, that it is just an industry shift for the sake of shifting. Oh well. Ugh. So you're basically expecting a Vista curve adapt on Windows 8?
Say again.
You're basically expecting a Vista-ish curve on adaptation of Windows 8. It's not that there'll be no sales, but...
Yes. I went for it. It was a $39.99 upgrade for me, so I did it.
Now, I have a question for you. As a result of that, do you really think these slates are going to move? Because the main selling point...
Oh, slates are different, Nancy. I still don't even like... despite my in-laws going Android, there was one iPad that I saw as a Christmas present. But it's funny. The guy who was a diehard iPad fan sold his iPad. Didn't want it, and he has this the Android Samsung Note or something. So.
Okay.
He loves that thing.
Well, no, it's just everywhere I go, and I do mean everywhere.
I'm telling you, all my in-laws, they're big on Samsung. I think they all have Samsung products. My wife had the Motorola. But yeah, they're big on the Samsung.
Well, I know, but literally everywhere I go, I see these Windows 8 slates everywhere, and I see the kids playing with them. Basically the 10 to 20 somethings who are there. Ooh, shiny play, and they're playing with the Windows 8 devices big time. And I'm like, and I can't decide if these are going to move or not, because their main selling point is their integration with this like Apple-ish, Google-ish ecosystem Microsoft is trying to create with them through the Live thing and the Xbox thing. And I'm like, I see them moving with the 10 to 20 somethings as the augmentation they provide, but I'm like, is that enough to really purely support a product on its own? And I can't make up my mind if it is or isn't. It's not like it would be the only product in that arena that depends heavily on that base. It's just most of them have secondary bases to pull on, and historically, as we've been saying, Windows' main base has been business, and business wants nothing to do with it at all. So it's literally Microsoft counting on the consumer and really largely the consumer base who is not in charge of their money, because we're talking about the 10 to 20 somethings who basically it's like, mommy, buy me it, to fund a product line. It's an interesting move, especially out of Microsoft. Give me 1 second to put a chop in.